Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
Pfah! What kind of sense does that make? Is sugar a rare cargo? Is there a black market for it? Did you ever hear of a fence for hot sugar? If I was going to call to make a deal with crooks to steal something, it wouldn't be for 40 tons of sugar.
This is episode 194, recorded December 29th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
Excuse me.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. You know, I probably should have had something I said along with that, but I didn't.
How about reading the title in German again?
You know what? The title is in German. Them. Us? Jahrzehnte des Grauens, die klassische Ara? Is that what you meant? Just quit asking for it if you don't want it. That's all I can say. With me this week.
I'm going home.
Oh, yeah, I am. My incredible co-host, Chad Hunt, co-host of Decades of Horror, the all of them, producer director with Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer. How you doing, Chad?
I'm eaten alive by ants.
I know.
Ants in my pants.
They're nasty people. Well, so since you're okay, we'll move on to the next one. Daphne,
that might be a good idea.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Welcome, Gregory.
Thanks, Daphne.
Oh.
Thanks. You just skip
also
over.
with us. Well, we
Hi,
weren't sure Doc was going to make it, so I asked Gregory to join us, and then it turned out Doc couldn't make it. So we got a full boat. How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing good. As a kid, I had to ask, "What is hot sugar?"
Hot sugar.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what hot meant in that respect as a kid.
It was the name of this lady that used to live
What
down
is
the street from us.
Hot sugar.
Is that a
Oh
song?
my God.
It was always.
Hot sugar was the VHS tape that you were supposed to take back before anyone knew you had checked it
Yeah,
out.
I still have it.
God.
Hot sugar.
Is that
a Franco film, right?
is that a
Okay.
version
Gotcha.
of the Rolling Stone song? No. Okay.
Wow, that
Here
one-
I am
that-
figuring
that
it
one-
out 5 minutes
That
later.
just went sideways so fast. Thank you,
Also
guys.
with us is Gregory Crosby. How you doing, Gregory? So glad you can make it today.
I'm very glad to make it, and I'm thrilled to be here once again with the Grue-Crew to talk about this fantastic film. But I'm mesmerized by whatever mysterious disembodied hand is crawling up Daphne's shirt.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's one of my Evil Dead T-shirts.
I was
Okay,
gonna say-
good. I for a second I thought, is Daphne mad at Chad? Why is she wearing the severed
No.
hand shirt? But
I didn't even think about
I think
that.
it's
Sorry,
just cut
Chad.
off.
You need a little mechanical thing that makes it wiggle.
Yeah,
and
that's
go.
either a severed hand or a very ugly chicken hen thing.
Could
What?
be.
It's a head. See, there you recognize
Oh,
it.
there you go.
Oh,
There
okay.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, there you go.
No worries.
All right. Also, Decades of Horror, Gruesome Magazine are partnering with Play Now Media on several other channels. And in fact, Decades of Horror, the classic era, is on the classic sci-fi movie channel, the classic horror movie channel, and the Wicked Horror TV channel. So check those out. And we have Play Now Media has given us promo codes for our Grue believers. For first-time subscribers, you'll get 20% off your first billing. So if you sign up for the monthly plan, which is $6.99 a month, you'll get $1.40 off the first month. If you sign up for the annual plan, which is $49.99, you'll get 20% off the first year, which is $10. So that would be my choice. At $40 is a heck of a deal. All their apps have been upgraded and they work great. I go in there all the time. and look for stuff. I just go right to the leaving soon column and just start playing stuff. And then I go, oh, that's why that's leaving soon. No. No, I like movies like that. I like
That one can't leave soon enough.
There's lots of serials on there too. So check
Captain
those out.
Crunch.
Yeah.
Cereals is in
Who provides the milk?
is in like serial killer.
Oh,
Only no, not like that. Anyway, cereal with an S. How's that?
More like Serial Mom.
And an I.
so like alphabets. Who's on first?
There you go.
You walked into that one, Jeff. You just
I did.
bam right into that.
They do have lots of serials. You know those things from the 40s that are like they're all like 15 minutes long, and they showed them every week at the theater. Well, you can watch them all right in a row. What's the Bela Lugosi one that we have, Chad?
The Phantom Creeps.
Yeah, the Phantom Creeps. I know he's got that on
With the world's most bored robot.
channels.
Yeah.
Well,
That
I'm not saying they all make sense.
That robot could not look more disinterested.
All right, so sign up for those, and in order to get that discount, you need to go to their website. Don't sign up, don't download the app on like Fire TV or Apple TV, and then sign up that way, because then you won't get it. You need to go to their website, and we have the link for each of those channels on our website, gruesomemagazine.com, on the blogs for our episodes. So check them out. Also, well, spoiler alert, this movie is it's 70 years old. It is 70 years old. Wow.
It's older than I am.
It's older than most of us. Anyway, our movie today is...
Then you, when you say us.
That's what I did. Them. 1954. And one of the great things about this movie is it starts the practice of giving little scientific lectures, which I do remember was carried through on, what was the one, Chad? Blood Beast Terror?
Blood Beast Terror.
Yeah. They do a little thing on that, on those moths. Anyway.
You have to give people a chance to go out for some popcorn.
Well, yeah, but you learn stuff. Anyway, directed by Gordon Becker. Written by Ted Scherdeman, from an adaptation by Russell S. Hughes, from a story by George Worthing Yates. And if you want to hear more about George Worthing Yates, go back and check our episode on Earth versus the Giant Spider, because we talked about him there. He's actually done a lot more than what I realized he had done. The cast includes James Whitmore, Edmund Gwenn, Joan Weldon, James Arness, Onslow Stevens, Sean McClory. Production company is Warner Brothers. Filming locations in California at the Blaney Ranch, at Palmdale, the LA River Basin, and the Railroad Yard at Union Station in LA, and the Warner Brothers Burbank Studio. Filming dates are September to November 1953. Release date, 26 April 1954. That was kind of a limited release. And then nationwide release on June 19th, 1954. Domestic box office, 2.2 million in rentals. Ultimate Movie Rankings says 4.6 million in actual box office, which kind of that works out. The synopsis. The earliest atomic tests in New Mexico caused common ants to mutate into giant man-eating monsters that threaten civilization.
Again, but that trick never works.
Yeah, you could say that last sentence, causing fill in the blank to mutate into giant man-eating monsters that threaten civilization. Oh, it's so good. Well, I'm trying to remember who picked this. Chad picked this, didn't he? So now we go to first impressions. That's what we do here. We do first impressions. Then we do some taglines, look at the posters, and just get into general info on the movie. So, Chad, when did you first see this? What was your first impression? What year is this?
Deer in the headlights. Like, what is going on?
Is it safe?
Yeah,
Blink twice.
Is it safe? I don't know Morse code.
I saw that movie.
I saw this a lot of times as a kid, and absolutely love this movie. Anything with giant creatures in it, I love. And the reason this is like my favorite giant bug movie is the ants were practical. They were real. They weren't rotoscoped in, and where you can see rotoscope lines on the outside, or walking through miniatures. These ants were real. They were big. They were huge and tactile, and they interacted with the actors, and they could touch them and everything. So that was the coolest part of that for me, to watch this as a little kid. And plus it had James Arness in it, and I talked my dad into watching it with me because he loved Gunsmoke. And I said, Marshall Dillon is in this movie, killing giant bugs. So that tricked him into watching a movie with me that wasn't a Western. So I love that he's in it, because I'm also a big Thing from Another World fan, and love him in that as well. James Whitmore, just a great cast. The little girl, every time I watch this, that little girl, when she's just walking down the road and won't say anything, was just heart-wrenching. And to this day, when you watch it, you feel so bad for her. And it's, for a 1950s sci-fi bug movie, has some emotional moments like that in there they usually don't have. And you really, really felt for that kid, losing her parents and everything to these giant bugs. And but yeah, this is just a classic giant bug movie, Atomic Bugs, and one of my favorites. So I'll let somebody else talk now.
Excellent. Well, let's go with our guest here next, Gregory. How about you?
Of course, I saw this movie so many times as a kid, and it was indelible. Sandy Desher, who plays the little girl, that opening scene where she is walking through the desert with that 1,000-yard stare, holding the doll with the smashed-in head. Absolutely indelible. I saw this so many times, and then 1 or 2 years ago, I saw this on the big screen, I think here in New York City at the Metrograph. And the first 30 minutes of this film are enormously effective before you even get to the ants themselves. When we talk about the direction and Gordon Douglas, I want to point out a few things that are just, and rewatching it again this afternoon, that are just so well done, that absolutely not only build suspense, but are really eerie. The whole scene where they've got her, where William Shallert is the medic, the EMT, and he's got her in the, laid out in the back of the ambulance, and they hear the ants, that incredibly eerie noise for the first time, and they're looking around, and then she just sits up with that horrible blank expression on her face, but also is full of terror. And William Shallert and James Whitmore don't even see that she's reacted this way, because by the time the noise ends, she's like gone back into this like sort of a state. It's really, really good. And I remember being, as a stop motion kid, being slightly disappointed by the practical ants, because I think I saw this around the same time I saw things like Black Scorpion, where everything is stop motion. And part of me was kind of like, and Black Scorpion is very much kind of a knockoff of them in a lot of ways. And I kept thinking like, oh, if only the ants. But you know what? As with Chad, when I saw this on the big screen, those mechanical ants actually work just great, especially with the sound that they make. It works really, really well, which is funny because how often you look back at a 50s giant bug movie and go, these effects are great, and that they're practical effects. It's a really, really good. I think if you made a list of the top 10 horror movies of the 50s, I think this would have to be on it. if for nothing else, that those first 30 minutes before you even get to all of the great stuff that happens in the second half of the movie. Once, of course, you get past Edmund Gwynn's lecture on the habits of ants, complete with 16 millimeter for the military brass. But yeah, I love this movie. Every time I watch it, it just seems even more skillful and well cast and fun than the last time I saw it.
Yeah, excellent. I'm totally with you, Doc. I know this is one of your faves.
Oh, absolutely. Like Chad, watched this, and Gregory watched this many, many times as a kid, and it is absolutely my favorite giant monster movie. Until you get into the kaiju, maybe. But as far as the 50s sci-fi monster movies, this one is absolutely my favorite. And there's so much in this that is a joy to watch. As a film buff as well now, because there's so many faces that show up that you recognize. We'll get into all those. There's like big surprises if you're a certain fan of other franchises and stuff, and TV shows and whatnot. This film was very formative for me as a kid because it leaned me toward, this is what made me like the big monster movies, right? The big, all those ones from the 50s, and it holds up so well. And the practical ants, when the first one comes over the edge, when she stands up and you see it, and it's such a powerful image and so well choreographed and set up and this movie is if you go to every decade, even with Thing from Another World, I actually like this one more. This is my favorite. And what might actually tie it or give it some challenges are some that aren't giant monster movies. There are a few of those. We won't get into all that, but yeah, this would have to be in my, if we were doing just like the classic era, this would be in my top 10 classic era movies. Absolutely love it.
Oh wow, that's excellent. Daphne, how about you? Was this something you saw when you were a kid?
I was thinking about that, and I can't remember if I saw it because sometimes the movies get mixed up in my head, and I haven't seen a lot of them recently. So, and some of them I've seen on MST3K. So that sometimes makes me question. It doesn't stand out in my memory as something that I remember watching as a kid, but I've certainly heard about it, and I really enjoyed this movie. We got a new TV, and it looked fantastic on the new TV, and we got a new Sonos, and we're like, all right, let's turn this baby on, and it looked fabulous on it.
The ant noise, we fill the entire room.
Yeah, and but kind of like you guys have mentioned, I really enjoyed the story, the build up, how there's the change from kind of a desert, the blankness of the desert, to a busy city, in Los Angeles. I think that's where they were, right? Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there was, some really, like you said, emotional, there's lots of killing, there's a little kid who just has this horrible, that's how you started off with. And, two kids lose their dad. They see their dad get eaten. People lose friends and all this stuff. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun story. I thought there was some beautiful cinematography, especially in the beginning, like around the trailer scene and in the desert. I really enjoyed the sound, like we talked about. I love when creepy sounds are incorporated into part of the character when you don't see them. That always really gets to me. And I also love movies that show you a little bit of a perspective from a kid. This isn't really a kid's perspective, but they allow you to feel the emotions of the kids. And I really enjoyed that too. So it was really fun. I was pleasantly surprised.
Ah,
Cool.
excellent. So I did not see this as a kid. In our neighborhood here in central Iowa, I've talked about this many, many times, but we'd come home and there was these movies that played on the, I guess it'd be the late afternoon movie. I think it was 4:00, so you get home from school and watch the movie, and they do science fiction and horror week. And the ones that them was not one of them. It was Black Scorpion was my thing out of the big bug movies. And I think probably because for a long time, I liked Black Scorpion better. Now watching it this time might be the first time where I really appreciate this is really a better movie in terms of script and acting and all that stuff. There's a lot of cool things going on in this story. But I still love the stop motion animation of Black Scorpions, the drooling black stuff and everything. Yeah. Anyway, which we did. We've covered that before, so you can check that out. So yeah, now I love it, and everybody's talked about the little girl Sandy Desher, I think.
So good.
And she does a great job, and just that there's the catatonic stare walking across the desert, and there's that just sets so many things off in you. You're realizing that her parents, and I think later you find out she'd had a little brother or a brother. There was another kid with him. Of what happened to them, that this kid is out wandering around, and then they find this trailer and it's all demolished and there's nobody there, and it just keeps going on from there. And then when she Gregory talked about it, that when there's one time where she shows the terror silently, but then there's another time where they have her smell the formic acid.
Yes.
Freaks out. Wow, what a good actress for that. I mean, that didn't look like a kid fake crying. That looked like a kid terrified to death.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the best. It might be one of the best child performances I've ever seen, especially in a horror movie. Yeah. She's great, and she's still with us. She's like 79 years old. She retired in the mid 60s. I love that she's still around, and I hope somewhere stops her and goes, best child performance in a monster movie ever. So good.
All right, I'm not gonna talk too much. We got a lot to cover here, but and speaking of a lot to cover, first up is taglines with Dad.
I'm gonna scream like that after seeing all these taglines I gotta read. Okay. Taglines for the movie Them are as follows: the amazing new Warner Brothers sensation. Okay, don't everybody react at once.
They almost didn't do it.
Fantastic monsters attack Earth. Should I read the parentheses as well?
No.
Oh, come on. If I got to read all this, I might as well read what's in parentheses.
Okay.
Original ad, all caps.
They could feel that.
Okay. You've never seen the likes of them.
Unless you've been on a picnic, of course.
Yeah. One ant per picnic.
Or pitched your tent in the wrong place.
And you get eaten as well as your picnic basket.
Picnic.
Mm-hmm. The horror horde of crawl and crush giants you've been hearing about on TV and radio.
Crawl and crush? Okay.
They love that too.
Someone someone was very proud of their alliteration who wrote that tagline. Horror horde of crawl and crush. Very nice.
They were probably making 50 cents an hour to come up with taglines for this movie. A horror horde of crawl and crush giants crawling out of the earth from mile-deep catacombs.
Deep.
You see how they're coming from everywhere? Yeah, that's better than about that you heard about on TV.
Yeah.
That's conjures up better energy.
Also, a horde of crawl and crush giants clawing out of the earth's steaming depths.
Steaming.
It took them 3 shots, but they finally got to it.
The steaming depths sound worse than the horror horde.
Yeah.
For some reason, it brings up something else to mind.
Clawing out of the dog's steaming pile.
Hmm.
Kill one and two take its place.
Hail
Australian Hydra Association.
That's true.
An endless terror, a nameless horror. Again from the Australians, who know they're deadly bugs.
They do, don't they?
No menace like it known to man or beast before.
I'm pretty sure
Well-
anteaters knew about it.
Yeah, anteaters probably. That's how they should have been killing them.
Yeah.
Mutate some anteaters and let them go
Right.
at it. You worry about the anteaters afterwards.
That's
Really?
a duplicate, so you can skip that one. I don't know why that's there.
Kill another one and two more take its place.
Except it's not capped, so I guess it's maybe different. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too worried about it. This city is under martial law until we annihilate them.
God, that sounds like something on the campaign trail.
An endless terror, another nameless horror.
Also on
That
camping trail.
The sci-fi classic of the atomic age.
Again, that could be almost anything from the 50s.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and this one too. The great invasion of a horde of ferocious monsters that put the world in danger. Terror, panic, run, Barney, run. It says ruin, but I'm sure it probably says
No, that was ruined. It was ruined.
Oh,
ruin and run while you're at it. Ferocious monsters invade the earth. Okay. No terror like them ever known by man or beast before, and I'm pretty sure I read that son of a bitch before.
I don't know why did you read Ferocious Monsters Invade the Earth like Aunt Patty? That was like very strange.
I don't know.
He was bored with.
Yeah, whatever voice pops into my head,
Just-
whichever personality becomes dominant.
Aunt Patty, what do you think of them? They were ferocious monsters.
They were just ferocious monsters, and they'd invading everything, including the earth.
This
It's more like
doesn't
my
beat
Aunt
the
Doris.
record.
They ruined my begonias.
Cannibal Holocaust
Stepped on
had the
my
record
poodle.
for the most taglines. And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's a
Praise the
hero,
Lord.
cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
It's true. With the song, they can't be that bad.
So now it does just make you want to go. The posters where all these taglines show up, and there they are: horror horde.
Easy for you to say.
Now, again, I don't recall any of the ants having eyes like that. Am I correct in that? Does anyone else remember the ants?
No,
Yeah,
they
no,
did
they
not.
didn't. No, they didn't.
I believe this is what's known as artistic license.
Well, it's either anamorphic or making them like cats. I can't tell from this angle.
It's just somebody that didn't take the initiative to go and find out what an ant's eye looks like. Before
I
they
would
drew it.
blame generative AI, but this is 1954.
But I love the giant letters. I mean,
yeah.
and taglines everywhere.
The artist is Ralph from The Simpsons. I made cat eyes.
I gotta say, that tagline looks great above the giant
Mhm.
them. Horror horde of crawl and crush giants. I would be okay with this poster.
And a couple more now. The one on the bottom is a VHS cover.
Yeah, I really like that one.
You know what?
That's the best one.
I remember that VHS cover when
I do
worked
too.
in a video store in the late 1980s. That just gave me a little Proustian rush here, remembering putting that exact cover up on the shelf in the
Yeah, that looks like the cover of a apocalyptic sci-fi
Yeah.
novel. I like the top one. I just like all the colors.
Mhm.
He's easily amused.
The bug eyes are.
They look pretty mean in that one for sure.
He also takes shiny items and takes them back to his nest.
I do. You should see my desk. And a couple more of them's.
I mean, once again, that's the classic. Nowhere in the movie does this happen, and yet I feel it's strangely compelling for some reason.
This should have been an Italian poster, the one on the top.
Yeah, if you're not a redhead with a half your breasts showing, you should be safe from these things.
You would think.
An endless terror, a nameless horror, the amazing new Warner Brothers sensation. Them. You know, it's really a pretty dang good title.
Mm-hmm.
And that's similar to one of those other ones.
Great colors on that. I like the monochrome behind the red. One of the things I'd forgotten about was the fact that Them began as a 3D production, and they abandoned that. But they kept that fantastic full color red title sequence in the black and white movie, which to give the opening credits some punch, and it still punches. It's very
it actually does. I thought about I had a slide with that title on it, but I didn't. I was getting a little overboard here. A bunch of half sheets, like the one at the bottom. We don't even have to tell you what it is. It's them, and they're coming. So
I'll take the M for $1,000.
That bottom one must be Van Morrison's band. You know.
Yes, as a matter of fact. Shoot, that makes me mad. I was going to do that. Lost a thought I had that I didn't follow through on, and then it left. And Spanish, and this one is really has a comic book feel to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
what's going on up in the top right corner there?
You're not. I'm Chad. When you're
Don't
older,
look.
when you're older.
Don't look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it wasn't in the book. So there's still
Man and
cool to
women
watch
really,
the movie.
really, really like each other when the world is ending.
Oh, my mom told me not to look at it.
It's interesting the colors that they used. It looks like little dinosaurs.
They do.
Yeah,
The texture, the
Yeah, the
texture is
texture.
very interesting on these things.
Yeah.
Looks like they got monks.
Dinosaur skin. And there's the same woman in the bottom that was in the
Mhm.
other one,
Huge.
being clenched by claws, flamings, buildings falling down. All right. Another Spanish. Now this one is basically the top one is basically the American poster with the Spanish title Mundo and Perigo. Well, I wonder if that isn't actually Portuguese, because that's just.
I think Peligro is the Spanish, right?
Yeah. So Perigo.
Perigo might be.
That's Portuguese. Anyway, a DVD cover on that one, and then the other one, La Humanidad and Peligro. This is the one that says "out of focus monsters are really scarier." So
These
yeah,
are all great.
and that I hate scrolling. Don't you just hate scrolling? I can't.
How dare you? The 21st century is nothing but scrolling.
I can't.
Get you one of them tippity tap screens.
Tippity tap.
Tippity tap. You know, like one of them Palm Pilots. You got little
Yeah.
stylus, you just tippity tap it.
Whereas you don't have to be scrolling all the time. You just tippy tap. As he scratches his beard.
I'm so lost.
Oh, here it is. Duh. All right, yeah. Humanity in Danger. That was the translation of that bottom one.
Edmund Gwynne's scientist character would agree.
Well,
There
and
are many moments in the film when he says, "This could be the end of everything."
there was a title in Catalan, Son Ellis, which is "It's them!" exclamation point. Which I thought, geez, why didn't everybody just use that? Why did they translate? So I can never figure that out. Okay, so a couple Italian posters, which translates to "Assault on the Earth."
And of course, there's that redhead. I knew she was Italian.
Yeah.
That's
Different
probably
dress.
where that started.
She moved to a new town, changed her identity.
Yep.
She got a new wardrobe, and those ants still found her at the end.
Trying to start over.
Ciao,
I thought those
bella,
antennas were
molto bellissimo.
segmented antennas.
You can't see, but that giant ant probably is wearing black gloves.
Yep.
Probably. Teeny
Okay.
tiny on the tip.
My first little sidetrack here. I should probably save it for 70s, but I swear I watch it. I'm binging Perry Mason in the background while I'm doing stuff. And it's season 7. They brought in this guy to do music. I swear they've decided to go giallo. I've seen 2 or 3 episodes where somebody's hand in a black sleeve and a black glove comes out from around the corner and bashes somebody over the head and goes and disappears.
I think you've just watched too many Giallos in the 70s.
Okay, not to extend the tangent too more, but I saw they did a retrospective of Robert C. Edmeck's movies at Lincoln Center recently, and I saw The Spiral Staircase, which are noirs. George Brent is pulling on black gloves as the killer in that, and I just thought, you did the Giallos did not invent this. There are lots of killers wandering around for decades wearing black gloves. Point that out.
Okay, here's Swedish Spindlarna, which I got no. I mean, I ran it through somewhere down in the trivia. It even says that nobody knew why they called it the spiders.
At least they got the eyes right.
Somebody
If you put an umlaut over it, it's an IKEA bookcase, I'm sure.
Could be. And then the bottom one is I don't know for sure. It's Asian of some sort. I don't know if it's Japanese or not, but it's.
We have the sound effects up on the top. Terror, scrack, mystic.
That's I believe that's horror in Sweden. Scrack. Cool. And mystic. Also in the bottom of that Swedish poster says extra de roda pilarna, which stands for
raid,
the red arrows. And I'm pretty sure that they're talking about like a film of the British aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. I think it's British. Maybe they're Swedish. I don't know. I bet it's British. Okay. Enough of that. Doc's like, oh, come on, let's get to the and our requisite bilingual, which is Atomic Demons is the French, and the Atomische Duivels is the Atomic Devils.
Oh, yeah, man, I love the Atomic Demons, man. I saw them in '98 on a bill with Betrayed by Lord Byron. Our wives look best to us. It was a hell of a show, man. Atomic Demons.
The ant on the bottom looks like Kilroy. Remember Kilroy was here?
Yes, it does. The eyes are just. I love how their eyes have pupils, though. These are like single eyes.
It's so
universal.
It's so it's so cartoony, which these practical ants are not cartoony on any level, which is one of the triumphs, because they could easily, being practical effects, they could easily not. It's astonishing that they work as well as they do. It could have so easily not worked in a movie like this. And the only thing I was trying to think of earlier why the practical ants were working so well, and all I could think of was like, it's a Warner Brothers film. They spent the money.
Yeah.
To make these work.
There's a quote somewhere from the director where he asked the editor if it was looking okay, and he was like, "Oh yeah, for giant ants."
It is. It really is, right? I'll bet this looks. If you think about something like Empire of the Ants, I think them probably comes off better, even though Empire of the Ants is what, 77?
It definitely comes off better than Empire.
Yeah, I mean,
Empire of the Ants looks like
the ants.
It just looks like they're sticking static things into the picture,
right?
On top of people.
Yeah, it's just like that's what you expect, and instead we get some serious. I'm going to go out on a limb here. It just occurred to me these might be the best giant mechanical monsters before Bruce.
Well, Bruce.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that. It's like these are a precursor to Jaws, the shark and Jaws. And that's what it's really a wonder to me how they pulled it off. And I guess that's it, Gregory, the money. Warner Brothers threw the money at them. They can do anything. They didn't go the cheap route and do like a static flat shot with just a monster superimposed over it walking around. These things were a real threat. It felt like a real threat because they were real.
I mean, the disdain for genre on the part of the big studios in the 50s is part of the reason why so many of those that we love, but we also acknowledge as being very much B movies with very, they're very challenged in terms of their budgets and whatnot. And yet every time a big studio put the money into it, you got a great movie. Think of like MGM and Forbidden Planet. It's like, well, if you spend the money and your script is solid, you're going to have a good result. And it's always been sort of mystery how it was just that the genre was relegated so much, even if you had something, I'm sure them made a profit. So it's just very interesting to me that sort of mentality that probably was on the part of the majors in the 50s.
Apparently, the sound, and I think the sound is another thing. The sound makes it work, even though no one's ever heard us make a sound of any kind. But comes from bird-voiced tree frogs of the southeastern U.S. Occasionally, a gray tree frog can be heard on the soundtrack as well.
I'm surprised it comes from nature at all. It sounds like something they sort of made up in the sound department.
I'm sure they manipulated it some, but it does
I mean, I still can't get over the fact that Godzilla is just, a bowstring being pulled across a cello in a certain way. That just somehow doesn't compute to my
All right. Well, let's take a look at the director here.
Gordon Douglas. I want to point out a couple of things that a couple of things occurred to me watching it again this time. First of all, people who want to learn how to write movies or make movies, they could do well to look at something like them. It's a perfect 3-act structure. That first act is all mystery and dread and like what is going on, what is happening, right? Second act is, well, okay, we figured out what's going on, let's kill him, and the whole descent into the nest, which is really creepy. And the third act is, oh shit, we've got to find the queens and have this great switch of setting into an urban setting, into the storm drains and whatnot. But Gordon Douglas does so many great little things like, and I think I've noticed this before when I watch this movie, in the swinging light fixtures in Gramps' store. They open up the storm door, the light black, and then the light swings and it reveals his corpse. It's not just a classic like, oh, I open it up and oh, there's a dead body. It's like I open it up, it's darkness, and then the light swings and reveals it. Yeah, things like that, or things like when they kill the first ant after that great reveal, and they're like, oh, is it dead? And then the ant's body just slightly. Did everybody notice that? This is this little like bloop, and you can see in the distance, James Arness and actress just sort of like do a little movement. Just these super subtle details that are clearly, really well thought out and really effective through the whole movie. This is a really well directed.
A lot of great attention to detail in this.
Yeah.
It was made with love.
Yeah.
Well, on the writer, you mentioned we've talked about the writing. The actual screenwriter, Ted Scherdeman, has 30 credits. The only other thing I see like this is Latitude Zero, and it's weird. It says stories. Episode of The Flying Nun, 11 episodes of Hazel. So the guy could do 4 episodes of Wagon Train.
It's just on a pure craft level. It's just on the level of like, this is a good script with a director who again, looking over his filmography earlier today, I was sort of shocked that I hadn't heard of most of these movies. I mean, maybe sure loved Little Rascals shorts, but he mostly did shorts in the 30s. He did a ton of movies in the 40s and 50s, but almost none of them are things that, unless you are like an absolute TCM, fanatic, that you've heard of, with the exception of a Jimmy Cagney movie called Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, which I've actually seen. And then in the 60s, he starts doing some stuff that's more like that you've got right here, like Robin and the Seven Hoods, and doing some Sinatra films. It's just fascinating to me to see to go back and look at the filmographies of these journeyman directors who really know what the hell they're doing
Right.
and telling
Right.
the story. And
Oh, you're cranking out those shorts, and then finally some features for our gang.
Yeah.
Do you recognize that name? You watched a lot of those, Chad? Does that
Oh yeah,
Gordon?
I've seen about every one of them. Yeah, just pay as you go or pay as you. I can't. I don't think.
But I
it's pay
mean,
as you go.
Gordon Douglas. I mean, does the name ring a bell as a?
Yeah, they used to have the little credits on there, and I remember that name from the.
That's clearly his. I mean, his film school was making all those shorts in the 30s, and
right.
Yeah, and really just. It's just funny. I love the intersection of someone whose craft is at a very high level, but only when certain elements came together did they make something that people are talking about 70 years later. Sitting around a podcast talking about how well done it is. It's really
it makes me want to see Zombies on Broadway because I'm thinking it's probably got some good humor. That's what I'm thinking. But and then the other one, Up Periscope. So that's I have a weird connection to that. When I was like in I don't know, probably junior high. At the Scholastic Book Club, I got a book called Up Periscope by Rob White. And he's who this is based on his book. Rob White also did a bunch of William Castle stuff. So he actually was the screenwriter for The Tingler.
Wow.
And Rob White did real life research on LSD with Aldous Huxley.
As you did back in Hollywood
before The Tingler. Anyway,
yeah.
I know that's a sidetrack, but I see some stuff in here that's some great connections. Robin and the Seven Hoods. I remember going to that when I was a kid. That was the Rat Pack basically.
Yeah.
And the other one on here is Lady in Cement, which I just put on because of the other people in it. Raquel Welch,
Dan Blocker.
Yep. So this was Frank Sinatra liked this guy. Did several movies with him in that. So, well, let's.
Someone who's just so good at at making a horror movie, and then you look at their filmography, and there's almost nothing like this in his filmography.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, and it's kind of the precursor. And I haven't ever done any research into it, but I wonder, is this the first big bug movie?
I think it might be.
Or the first atomic radiation. We've got things like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, but that's
that was woken up by an atomic.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was already big.
This comes out the same year as Godzilla, so it
okay.
feels more like one of those things that is in the air in the early 50s as coming out of probably science fiction stories and pulp stories of the late 40s and 50s. But in terms of American big bug movie, I don't know. I think it might be. It would make sense because if Warner Brothers makes a big bug movie and it makes money, well, of course you're then going to have Tarantula, and
I don't
the spider and all of these things in the year, the giant Gila monster and all of these attempts to catch.
Gordon Douglas did. They Call Me Mr. Tibbs too, which was
I love that movie.
Sort of a sequel to
In the Heat of the Night.
It was a carry-on of the character Virgil Tibbs. And then I didn't notice this before. Somebody else mentioned it, like Flip. He also did Way, Way Out, which was a Jerry Lewis movie.
It says here the first giant bug movie is often considered to be Them, released in 1954.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some of those big bugs. And this is the first one we actually see.
He's helpless without it.
This is the first one we actually see. And look at James Arness there practicing his Marshall Dillon moves.
That's funny.
From here, it looks like he's shooting like a stormtrooper, though. He's way to the right.
But isn't that a great reveal at the top? I mean, when she's doing all the thing, you hear the noise, and you start seeing the antenna kind of wiggle up, and the camera moves up as she kind of stands up, and you see it.
Yeah.
And then you see the 3D kind of idea.
Yes.
Because everything has a foreground and midground and background, and like all three of those shots. Like the bottom one, you definitely.
Well, I think that's just regardless of whether they're going to be 3D. I think that's great cinematography because it really adds depth to what you're looking at.
Absolutely.
To have stuff in the foreground, but this also this is a great setup because you got all these people out there. They're looking at I think they're looking at the footprints or something, and the men all kind of get distracted over here. And Patricia Medford, Dr. Medford, comes over here by herself, and I'm right away. You're thinking,
It didn't bother her though because she's not a redhead. Sort of stood there and stared.
I mean, as far as this isn't black and white, Chad. As far as we know, she's not a redhead. Called the Susan Hayward effect, where he's like, "I know you're a redhead, but I'm not registered."
Did he shoot the antennas off at the bottom picture there?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, they look off.
I
Yeah.
also want to point out how another clever thing to do if you're using giant mechanical ants is this whole scene. There's a sandstorm blowing around.
Yes.
So there's that sort of obscuring things, and then in the end, when the ants are like sort of at bay, like construction and all those beams and stuff that you can't really fully. It's so smart. You don't fully see it. You see enough of it to go and not enough of it to go.
And really it sort of all that noise sort of covers the fact that of the ant noise and that or the noise of something walking up on her. She kind of takes away some of that noise. You hear that? Sounds like the McDonald's ice cream machine.
So here's the choppers out looking for him.
Yeah.
Those were not like high budget choppers. I loved them. And then when they were riding in them, oh my God, it's like these tiny little crunched in things in the back. Anyway, so this happened right around Alamogordo where the time bomb tests were. That was the whole point. Right?
Sense.
There's a line later in the movie about how many more atomic, what about all the other atomic tests we've done in other places in the world? And then I love this. This is, they don't really say anything about this, but this is like monitor all news for kidnappings and missing persons, unsolved murders, alleged suicides.
I love alleged suicides. Why alleged suicides?
Yeah, only the alleged ones.
Alleged, yeah.
We're not interested in the ones that really happened. Just
thefts of sugar, syrups, sweets.
His entire body was full of formic acid. Oh, well, clearly a suicide.
Strange phenomena as flying saucers. Where did that come in? Strange odors, high-pitched sounds, unnatural things alive or dead.
Which means that they've encountered that before at some point, right?
Yeah, the flying saucers are there because at this point it's the flying ants they're looking for. So
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
They do reference them as ant-shaped flying saucers.
Yeah.
I saw a flying saucer. It looked like an ant.
Yep.
So,
UFO hadn't quite gotten currency yet.
No, they were flying saucers.
Yeah.
They're not even UFOs anymore.
They're not
right?
UFOs anymore.
They're called something else now.
I love this. This is one of those like found phones
phenomena
that you see in you come across in the movie.
Somewhere in a sweet shop, the store owner is holding Billy Bob at bay with a gun because he picked up a couple of chocolates and put them in his pocket. I'm reporting you. I'm supposed to report you to the police.
Well, when they show that trailer and then in Gramps, a bodega out in the middle of the desert, apparently, where there's sugar. Like in the trailer, there's sugar cubes that kind of strewn around. I'm like, I don't know, sugar cubes wouldn't do much for those size ants.
Well, then they make that point, right? It's like, oh, there's not enough food here. They're going to turn carnivorous, which that's always never a good line in a horror movie.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
That makes your ears wiggle, right? So.
I liked when they found the sugar on the floor with all the ants crawling all over them.
Right.
Unmutated ants.
And then he puts his hand up.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's not quite explained why he's paying attention to that, except that it's a plot point.
So first they try shooting these things with well, we saw a handgun, Tommy guns. Actually, the Tommy gun, he kills one of them with his Thompson machine gun. And then don't they try bazookas?
Well, the bazookas, that's how they do the phosphorus, and then
to heat up the nest.
And then they have, I think they were cyanide grenades. I don't know what those
look like.
Like smoke grenades for cyanide. Doesn't seem real. I didn't want to be the guy throwing that thing.
Hey, don't breathe that.
It's 1954. The cops have a Tommy gun in the back. And
Yeah.
The U.S. Army has everything it might need to battle giant bats, including giant canisters of cyanide.
Yes, everything.
Well, the days here we all knew would happen, boys. Let's go out and get them.
Yeah, they're from a crate marked very under Geneva Convention things on chemical warfare. Like, they'll just take a few of these.
Yeah.
Get rid of the giant ants.
Look at the set, man. The set that looks like a back projected background there in the back, but probably because of the 3D. But it looks amazing.
Like the tunnels have, or like the ants have burrowed through there.
Yeah. The cinematography throughout this is first rate.
Yeah, the top picture is all these larvae, I guess, where the ants, worker ants,
left over from body snatchers.
Turn them off.
I also want to point out, and I'm blanking on her name. I guess I could look at the cast list and remember that it's Joan Weldon as Dr. Patricia Medford. I love the scene where James Arness is like, this is no place for a woman. She's like, my father is too old and you need a scientist, so shut up.
No, I thought that was great.
And then she really takes charge down there when
she does.
Burn it all. It's just like great. Yeah.
I love it. She stands up to this. What is James Arness? Isn't he like 6'6"?
FBI guy. So
yeah, she stands up to him and tells him, she's like nose to nose with him, telling him off. This is what's going to happen, and I'm going to do it.
It's a great example of the kind of thing where it's like this character. There's characters who they're just there to perform a function in the story. But you can give them the kind of detail that makes them believable.
Right.
Situation, believable as characters. And it's just a nice example of that with that character who otherwise is often that's a throwaway character in these movies. The woman who's like,
But it makes sense that she's like that. I mean, for someone, any person to get to that station in life like she has, didn't do it by doing every little thing everybody told her to do, Well,
I mean, to be fair, she is a Nepo baby. I mean, but
a little bit, yeah.
But I love that they gave her that kind of those kind of character beats that they appreciate.
Well, that's a great line. That's a dumb line too. My father's the world's most well-known myrmecologist, I think,
Myrmecologist,
and James Arness freaks out. Myrmecologist. See what I mean?
Someone should do a supercut of every science fiction movie where some scientist is saying something and some character's like, "What are you talking about?
English, please.
English. Speaking human.
If we can all just speak in English.
Speak American.
We don't communicate all that well in English. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we're introduced to her in a very 50s kind of way where she's coming out of the plane and gets her skirt caught and everybody's looking at her leg. And it's like,
But also, I love how they throw that in, and then it's not.
Doesn't come up again.
Right.
Well, James Arness, kind of keeps Googling at her all throughout the show.
She says, "Call me Pat." It's like, okay, they're gonna hook up. We got that.
Yeah, there's no other way for a man to express his feelings toward a woman than the wolf call.
Right. They do that like right then, but I don't think they really do that again. They're pretty respectful to her the rest of the way.
Yeah,
all these are.
Now that she put them in their place.
Yeah, because she earns that, and that's great writing too.
Yeah,
they put her in that position and then switch it up. So she becomes an authoritarian figure.
Yeah, excellent. She's I just love that scene that you talked about. The scene where she's just literally like nose to nose with this macho guy telling him off, and he doesn't know what to say.
And she's already all loaded up too. She's got her suit. She's got her tools.
Yeah.
that's a common trope, but I think it's really well handled, especially when James Arnold says like, "Okay,
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
all right, yeah, what's he
Right.
gonna do?"
Yeah, so
It felt
So
very,
back to the
very
hands.
real, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I just thought this shot was funny, the one in the middle where they all come into the cavern where the is that where the male ants are? The winged ants.
Well, it's where the queen is. It where the queen.
The princesses. So technically, they're a princess.
Yeah.
The three
all the underground scenes I thought were just very, very good, and I felt claustrophobic and just like when the walls would I definitely felt that kind of danger of the walls coming down on them, and when that did happen and there was one just James Arness was in there, I was like, I'm starting to feel a little hard to breathe. It was just excellent job with the atmosphere.
Yeah, the little ant POV there in the middle. What you seeing? What the ant sees?
Yeah, kind of. It is.
Turn off that light.
Hey, where's the woman with the low cut dress?
We once the redhead. We once. Oh, they took that out, didn't they? I know.
So while we're going through, we have a couple of buildings. That's the is that the trailer or Grace?
That's the trailer.
That's the trailer.
That's
Yeah.
the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
That one at the bottom is what got me as a kid.
Oh, me too. It's
Oh
Yeah.
man.
That was
Really
intense.
and
Yeah.
when he comes busting through.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you see all the ants in the background. It's such a great way to
Mhm.
illustrate what's going on without
Yeah.
having to go full board, right?
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
to make
It
three
feels
ants.
Yeah.
Far more. Yeah, it feels far more intimate, and
It's like Bruce when he came crashing through the window.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Sheriff Brody at the
I didn't even think about
I love
that. But
both
you're
the
right.
trailer and Gramps and the way that sometimes one of my favorite things in a horror movie is just when the characters come into a situation and they're just like, what the hell happened here? This is really
Yep.
what? And I like it. I always appreciate films where they just stretch that out a little bit,
Mhm.
where you're just sort of like, ooh, because it makes you feel like, well, what would you do if you walked into this situation, right?
Well-
Both of those sequences are handled so well, I think.
Is
And
that
I
a
think it-
chair stuck in the ceiling or a table?
It looks like something hanging down or stuck.
It looks
up
looks
Maybe
like
a shelf broke or something.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
a cabinet that's been pulled down
Mhm.
next
Wow.
to James
there. Yeah.
Whitmore,
Whitmore.
yeah.
James Whitmore.
Daphne, what were you about to say?
Oh, I was going to say it also does the thing where it brings you from the real world into this fantastic situation that you can totally believe at this point because you've gone down that road with them, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, imagine how I can imagine some alternate version of this where, and this is a lot of movies do this, where you get to see a giant ant kill in the opening 5 minutes, right, or 10 minutes, and that's that stage, and then you don't see the giant creature monster again for a long time. I think it's so much more effective to hold off on it to the moment where it happens and where everybody who's seen
It
it
is.
for the first time.
Well, as soon as you hear the sound, they're present.
yeah,
Even if you don't see them, they're present.
Well, and you're the third cop in that top picture.
Yeah.
You're finding out as they
Finding
find
out,
out.
yeah.
And that's just I love that kind of stuff too. Just where you don't get everything all loaded, front loaded, and
Right.
Yeah, they have
But
no
like
clue what's going on.
Yeah.
and like you said, that you get that view of the girl's reaction to, and that the cops don't see. And but you're there collecting the information with the characters. Yeah.
Well, when the doctors show
You
up,
want mystery.
Yeah.
You want them.
Yeah.
You want mystery to be like what? I think
and
that's
when the doctors show up, they won't tell them. And that, which is, I think, is right. I mean, he said,
Right.
I'm not going to say this till we know for sure. Well, basically, he knows they're not going to believe him anyway. So
that's
might as
true.
well wait till we see one. And Fess Parker's characters, they put him in a insane asylum because nobody will believe him that it was a giant ant.
I was gonna recommend his release. Oh no! If he gets out or anybody visits him, the United States government will hold you accountable.
I know.
Oh,
Go.
typical.
That was nasty. Because he told them, "Oh yeah, we'll do what we can. We'll do what we can."
Yeah. do not let him leave.
It's hilarious
let him
because
leave.
if you were that doctor, you'd immediately be like, "Oh shit, something real has happened."
I know, like, oh shit, there are real ants.
I think I'm going on vacation.
Yeah.
I liked how the top scene and when they investigate Gramps' place as well is how we followed James Whitmore's character and how he actually handles the evidence.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't just like clumsily grab stuff. I mean, he uses a
Yeah.
pencil. He pulls a
That
pen
was
out of his
cool.
pocket
Yeah.
so he can smell the gun, you know, the
Mhm.
barrel if he shot it or not, and
Yeah.
he pulls out something
He
to
does.
grab the
Yeah,
gun,
he's-
right?
Another little detail with this character when the little girl is asleep in the front seat,
Oh, that's so
and how very tenderly.
Mhm.
Did you see how very tenderly he like extricates himself?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
and lays her
Yeah.
head down on the
There's like
Yeah.
this
bed.
kind of detail that so
Mhm.
many filmmakers would just like wouldn't even throw in
Mhm.
there. But
Mhm.
all throughout that, James Whitmore's character is so established in everything that he does, and
Mhm.
not the things that he says.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's
Mhm.
what you want. You know?
Like when the girl smells the
Formic acid.
formic acid and she screams, he's the one out of everybody in the room.
Yeah.
He's the one that goes up to her and
And of
comforts
course,
her.
that tracks because then he's the one who saves the boys.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
It's all within his character.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so well established through
Yeah.
line. now.
it's really well done.
And there's like quiet moments where he communicates without saying words. Like we go back to that car scene where she's in the front seat and he's come out of Gramps, or not Gramps, but the trailer, and he has the skull cap of the doll that's broken, and he has a little piece of cloth, and he's he's showing he does it. We see him do it because the other cops on the making a call, and then he shows the guy what he's done.
Yeah.
Just to send it, just to seal it, just to
Yeah.
make it a point. And it was just there's a tenderness there and to it, and it's it's his performance is really strong in this. I love his
Yeah.
performance in this movie.
Super effective. Yeah, everybody in this is great, but James Whitmore is kind of on a whole other level.
He's a good actor.
Everybody else is kind of in a sci-fi movie, but he's in a.
Mhm.
You feel like this is
Yeah.
really his
It's just
story.
real.
This
Yeah.
could have been a straight, crime drama, and he's going
Right,
Yeah.
right.
he's going to give that performance
Mhm.
and establish that character.
Because James Arnaz he's really good too, but he's a little more stiff than Whitmore is.
And he's more blustery because he's FBI.
Right.
And that's a nice contrast with Whitmore, who is not
Mhm.
blustery at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they do it again when they're in the plane. When he's in the plane with the doctor,
Yeah.
and the over and out stuff is just a great. The way he handles interactions with people is just
Mhm.
it really is strong. It's
Yeah.
part of the glue that makes this movie
Mhm.
kind of rise above others, because I don't know if all the others have those kind of tender
Mhm.
and human moments with their
Yeah.
characters.
Or if they do, they're not as skillfully handled.
Right.
Well, which I think is also another reason why this movie just I don't know, we've kind of said it in a few different ways, but like it does push it above, and you don't necessarily know why, that it's not just like every other big bug movie. It's the little stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just so good.
It's the fact that those practical ants work. And I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about movies like The Deadly Mantis in the beginning of the end, all the other insect movies. I do like The Black Scorpion because of the stop motion and because it has some appealing characters and whatnot. But all of those are so obviously sort of a pale shadow of what
Mhm.
the template that then establishes for this.
It set a high bar for giant
Mhm.
bug movies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. So we've got there's a place where the helicopter flies over and finds us. They're looking for the ant hill, basically, and they find it. And when they look down in the hole, this ant's down there, and there's a bunch of bones, and it climbs out with this rib cage and its jaws.
Yeah. That's a great gruesome image. I'm almost surprised Hays Code was like, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Human rib cage in
Yeah.
a giant ant's mouth. That's
Mhm.
fine.
It was shocking as a kid watching it. Chad,
Yeah.
did you have that?
Oh yeah,
feeling too?
yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'd never seen bones and skulls that had been recently eaten before in a movie like that.
Right, but it wasn't too much. It wasn't
No.
like it didn't like.
It's cool. It's
Scar
for a
me.
little kid watching it. It's like, whoa, cool.
Whoa!
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Well, you know what's great
skillfully
about
done.
is that you're used to, as a monster kid, you're used to seeing skeletons and rib cages and hanging from, dungeon walls.
Yeah.
Right.
Horror movies. And then to just see it with this, you're like, oh, right. These
It's
ants are
tough.
gonna
That's
eat these
not
people.
about it, yeah.
And then there's that great shot of the one cop's empty holster.
Oh
Yeah.
know.
Oh.
You're like, oh, there's
It's
that.
bloody. Mm-hmm.
You
So
say
the
here.
second- the middle shot is then after they find the hole. Then James Whitmore and James Arness get all suited up and go up there. We're looking down.
You're
in the
terrible,
hole.
Doc.
What's that? Okay, we're looking
Never
down in
mind,
the
keep going.
hole. We're looking down in the hole, the ant hole.
That's what she said.
And when we throw the cyanide down in there,
We're still talking about ants, right?
Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
That doesn't help.
That was for you, Daphne.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
No problem.
It's a good shot.
I'm just gonna the next time I'm angry at someone, I'm just gonna call them an ant hole.
Such an ant hole.
No, that's indelible now. That's like,
You ant hole.
well,
Start throwing cyanide at him.
a new insult to people. Don't be such an ant hole.
What are you doing? Don't be such an animal.
Ant hole. Anyway,
That does sound like a pretty good burn for somebody.
Doesn't it though?
I-
And it's because the person would look at you like, what?
Yeah, they would have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And you could just walk off with a big grin on your
And then
face.
you could be like, well, perhaps you should watch Decades of Horror.
I know. I see a shirt. I see a shirt in the future.
There we go. Chad.
Future in the
can
future.
Yeah.
don't be an ant hole.
Don't be
Don't
an
be
ant hole.
don't be an animal. Ha!
All right. Let's see what else we have. This is just another shot. Some of them are the same, but
Mhm.
these larvae that we see down in the caverns and all the guys down there with gas masks. And
Which are quickly turned into exposition. You
Put
just
in a-
photograph? This is a photograph of exposition.
Dang, that's
But
a big picture.
it was done in a really creative way, though.
No, it's well
in
done.
Tandem.
I will say, if there's only one flaw of this movie, it's the ant lecture goes on a little long.
never lectures. That's
Now, I know the thing on the right down the bottom is a larva. What's the thing that's busted out of? Is that a Boston cream pie?
what? Oh, yeah.
Isn't that
Looks like a chrysalis,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the princess.
Oh, okay. That must. Okay, gotcha.
It is the princess one, yeah.
Mhm.
They said, did they say something about it accelerating how they worked? I forget how they evolved from larva to
They may
Oh.
have. I don't remember.
Oh,
if-
kind of a throwaway line.
There was something.
Yeah. Yeah, there
What was
were a
that?
few things that he related to the size and
Yes.
stuff, but
Blame everything on radiation.
The radiation that's not bothering any of the humans is all of a sudden making ants the size of houses.
Well, that's always the fun thing in these 50s movies. It's like, oh, radiation has caused the ants to mutate. And then your next question is, how come nothing else is mutated?
What about the, oh, they have. Look at all the other movies.
We just had to wait a few years. Here they
Oh.
come.
Years, yeah.
War of the Colossal Beasts.
Yes.
Yeah, so they got the flamethrowers, and apparently they actually got army personnel who were experienced in using flamethrowers to do this.
cool.
Wow.
What a cool shot.
Probably want,
Mhm.
you don't want it to be like, Leo DiCaprio, the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with this flamethrower.
Oh
You
my
want like an
gosh.
actual professional on the flamethrower.
Hmm. But I will take some Leonardo DiCaprio in with a flamethrower. That was fun too. I love the silhouette down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
That.
Gomez's teeth.
Mhm.
Edmund Gwynn is so great, and seriously, this character obviously
Oh, I love him.
is a
Mhm.
it's the same. It's cut from the same cloth as his character in The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. And just watching him do his exposition just made me want to rewatch The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. I gotta say.
Hmm.
As the ants burned, I watched and thought about my own existential crisis.
He could play humorous and serious
Yeah,
science-themed mumbo jumbo equals
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
No, he's great.
Well, I also think he added, like what you guys were talking about with Whitmore's character. I think he added some naturalism or some realism to him as a person. Also, how he was a father, how he treated his son,
yes.
how he treated Pat, the way he talked to her, how he called her doctor, how he. There was just this. It just again very subtle, but really sold the point of their relationship, and that they work together and have mutual respect for each other.
Yeah.
And I could see that's how part of how she is the person that she is because of her relationship with her father. Yeah.
Yeah, he instilled it in her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always think he's a precursor to, this is Mr. DNA, from the Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew this was bothering me. Just because we gotta make sure we do this right. The guy in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is Cecil Kellaway, who is Edmund Gwynn's cousin.
Oh my God, am I completely misremembering?
Yes, but
Oh, wow.
I was going to pull two pictures of the two of them and put them up and go put an X over one of them and go.
I would have sworn
Edmund
on
Gwynn?
the famous
Not
Monsters
Edmund
of
Gwynn.
Film Land that it was
Yeah.
Edmund Gwynn in Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. Well, now I really need to watch Beast of 20,000 Fathoms again because
Yeah.
that's very
Cecil,
interesting in my mind that.
But they're
They look alike.
cousins.
But it's
Wow.
absolutely
they're
the same-
cousins. Yes, they're
absolutely the
cousins.
same character. Though.
That's so funny.
Excited scientist character. Wow, that's someone's about to come and take my decoder ring away.
No. If you look at it, you can see it. But if I'm sitting here thinking about it, I had a hard time with it. I want to say Cecil Kellaway was in Postman
This
Always
is
Rings
I
Twice.
can't. This is too embarrassing. I'm for Christ's sake, I'm a professor. This is too embarrassing. Anyway,
Yeah,
moving on.
Cecil Kellaway was in The Postman Always Rings Twice.
Yes, Cecil Kellaway. Got it. Can we move on to the next
All
one? God.
Love it.
It's an easy thing to do, but I kept thinking, why didn't I have a picture of that movie? Anyway, all righty.
Gregory's going to be like later on, why can't I go to sleep?
Oh Jesus, I do it all the time.
I looked up Sandy Drescher's Wikipedia page, but did I look at Edmund Gwynn's? No.
And then we have James Whitmore's demise,
Yeah.
which I believe we get a good Wilhelm screen for that one. But you know what? Those eyes don't have pupils.
I remember that affected that
Yeah.
him dying affected me
Yeah.
so much as a kid. I didn't want that character.
Oh yeah,
I
he's
was-
such a good guy.
Yeah, I was sitting on the couch going, no.
Yeah.
The whole time it was happening. No.
That's how you know it's a real horror movie.
Yeah. Mhm.
When somebody who you don't think is going to die.
Like, you
dies.
cannot kill him.
And
yeah.
you care.
Yeah.
It's not some
Uh-huh.
throwaway.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it's like, oh.
Yeah. And you believe that he would do that to save the kids. And he
Yep.
would,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Talk about claustrophobic too. That pipe or tunnel that he puts those kids into.
Yeah.
That's,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's a really
The boys did a good job too. Looking super traumatized back there.
Now that bottom picture is that the crew playing golf while a giant ant menaces them?
I think they're just shoveling sand around and
Okay.
stuff.
The guy's about to
Or
Well, it says the board at the bottom is obviously like to identify what's going on, but I think it's kind of funny. It says them something. I can't read the next two lines. An extant nest. Looks like September 30th.
Exterior ant nest.
No,
Oh,
exterior
yeah.
ant nest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's all the
Exterior
bones
ant
laying there.
Mhm.
Yeah. The bottom of the guys.
Yeah, it looks like scene number and stuff like that.
the guy with a pith helmet over there. It looks like.
Watch this, man. Hold my beer.
Anyway.
and that's the camera down at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
silhouette.
See the reels. So then just a couple more of those, just the behind the scenes, like developing the ants, and obviously these do not. I don't know. They really laid the. I don't know what it was they put on them, but like, reminds me of seaweed or something,
Mhm.
or
I suspect they
Hair
did that.
and-
They gave them that texture in part so they wouldn't look
it wouldn't look shiny and.
too mechanical.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody got giant ants right again until Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Or Ant-Man.
Well, that would be much later. But I remember the ants from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I kind of like it without all the junk on it.
You
It
like
looks
the
really
top
good.
one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good sculpt, a good
It
model.
looks good.
Well, you can
yeah.
you see the little I don't know what do you want to call them at the knees. There's a little thorny thing.
Yeah.
I believe the scientific term for that is thorny thing.
Yeah.
Little thorny.
Little.
Thornicopia.
It's actually a medical condition called thorny elbow.
Yeah.
The
The
fabricator-
LTT, right?
Looking at it like like they're like in a like in a used car lot.
Oh, look at that shot. Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
They got like a board or something propping. It's just an old board propping this up. It's not.
It really, literally is, isn't it? But I mean, look at that. It is so imposing.
Yeah.
It's simplistic.
Mhm.
It's not overdone, but it may not even be accurate, but it's so effective. It's what our imaginations.
I was just wondering if they looked at like the ant head and under a microscope to get the striations. And
It's actually a little disturbing.
it is.
Yeah. So it's just sitting there propped up by a 2x4. It's those mandibles, man.
In the antenna, shoot the antenna,
Yeah.
shoot the other antenna.
So let's do a run through the cast here. So here's James Arness with his goggles on and his
Never heard of
cool
him.
FBI hat.
Cock to the side.
I know. That is so him in this movie. Cock to the side.
And of course, we've already mentioned this. He was in Think from Another World.
Another world.
Frankenstein.
Carrot monster. Carrot monster.
And as I said
Only
earlier,
carrot monster.
I just let I was watching them on Tubi and I just let it like flow into.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
cool.
a movie that you could probably watch endlessly.
Oh yeah.
Never
get tired of that
never
movie.
get tired of
It,
the secret Howard Hawks sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very. Yeah.
Douglas Spencer is Scotty and
Yes.
Robert Cornthwaite. To me, that's who they always will be. They'll
Yes.
always be those characters.
Mm.
Scotty should be the template for every newspaper reporter. in the
Yes.
movie.
Yeah. He was actually not. He was funny in a natural way. He made that character really a memorable one.
I can't remember what it was, but I think I saw him in something else where he was just a complete straight villain.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, Scotty, what's happening?
Scotty don't.
And then Joan Weldon, who. So James Arness, we all know he went through after this. Then he was on Gunsmoke, and then did a few years of How the West Was Won, where he played like a mountain man, and there. But that was the main gist of his career, and I'm sure he made plenty of money after 20 years of Gunsmoke. He was probably making good money by the mid 70s.
It was one of the biggest shows on TV at the time. Wasn't
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, I think it holds the record for the longest.
Well, I mean, not anymore. Something overtook it. I want to say The Simpsons.
Well, live. Okay, so now you can say live drop.
Yeah, something overtook it at some point, but yeah, it held the record for a long.
Well, like CSI has been 25 years. So, but it's at that time definitely. So it was 65 to 73.
Oh shoot. Yeah, no, that's not. I don't think CSI is that
Pretty good.
Oh, that was good. Yeah. That's not what I was thinking. That's not right. What am I thinking?
I have no idea.
Never mind.
Well, I think not the show, but the first. I may be wrong with this, but he played Marshall Dillon for like 20 years, and I think the first actor to play the same character over the same span of time.
Yeah, that
Right.
could be.
Kelsey Grammer in Frasier. All
okay.
through Cheers and all through his show, and in the last
Oh,
season.
and Cheers and
Yeah,
Frasier
it was like
and the
it
new
was like,
Frasier.
it was like
Yeah.
somebody made a joke about, oh, can you imagine playing the same character for 20 years? And the audience just laughed their ass off because Kelsey Grammer's like, well, that's what I've been doing for 20 years of my life.
So Joan Weldon, who I thought did a good job, only has 20 credits on IMDb. Her last credit is in 1958. Her first credit is 53. So at the time of the studio system, I guess, she did an episode of Have Gun Will Travel. So that makes her cool in my book. And an episode of Perry Mason. And Cheyenne. She got to spend time with Clint Walker.
He's great in this.
I don't know why. There's a fair amount of people, maybe because they just didn't get good roles. Maybe there's a fair amount of men too, but it just seems like it says she faded with the end of that studio system. She was more into music, so she made a successful return to the musical stage. So that was really her thing. Joined the San Francisco Grand Opera Company, Los Angeles Civic Light Opera Company.
I just want to correct myself real quick. Earlier I said Gunsmoke has 65. It was 55. I misread it. 55 to 75. So I just want to everybody out there screaming.
Well, we said 20 years, I think.
Right.
So.
Okay, no one can hear them after the people screaming at me for mistaking Edmund.
I'm telling you, it's an easy mistake.
I'm sure Jerry Chandler is, Mikey
writing a letter. Writing a letter.
Mikey is like shaking his head in disgust.
If you want to edit this episode, you can take it out.
No. It's an organic comedy.
I don't really care as long as we end up right. I take stuff out where we don't correct them. Usually it's me. If I make a misstatement and I find out later when I'm editing it, I look it up and go, oh shit, that wasn't right. But if I say something dumb and we correct it, then that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. What is this? Inducted into the Galileo Hall of Merit 2019. What does that mean?
You got me.
All right, we're done. So I thought she was good in here.
She's great.
She was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She looked good wearing the helmet. Better than James Arness, actually.
Nice.
So here we have James Whitmore and Cecil Kellaway. Edmund Gwenn. Now, somebody mentioned this already, but I thought his bits with the headphones.
Yeah, that's so great.
And the goggles
and the over and out and the rules of that were. And then when he gets out and they give him those goggles to put on, he puts them on crooked. I wonder if that was that in the script or what? Because the actor reaches over and straightens it out.
You always wonder if that's a script thing, if that's Douglas saying do a little bit of business here, or if it's just the actors going like, oh, let's do a little detail here that
right.
Where I'm being helpful to the.
That's what I mean. Or did he really just not know how to put them on right? So the guy fixed it. They went, hey, we're keeping that.
What? No, how dare you? How dare you? This man was Santa Claus. Unless I'm wrong about that too.
He was so good of a Santa Claus, he got an Oscar for it.
Yes.
He's an Oscar Santa. Yeah.
Somebody on the internet's like, Cecil Kellaway was in Miracle on 34th Street.
And James Whitmore, before you get into all this, I remember him as what do I remember him as? Will Rogers, because they was like in the 70s. And he did all these like Will Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
He did a movie.
Harry S. Truman, and he did Teddy Roosevelt. And that's what.
And I remember from commercials where he was talking Miracle Grow.
No, well, that's
yeah.
It was Miracle.
You want big tomatoes?
But anyway, go ahead with the shots that way.
No. Well, the one at the top is Shawshank Redemption, and he was awesome in that. Was he called Books? Isn't he the one that ran the library? And then when
he ran the little book cart.
Yeah.
And when he gets out, he hangs himself because he doesn't have any
Right.
Oh, that's who. Oh, okay.
That's him. He
Couldn't
can't
handle
swallow
it on the outside.
Yeah.
And then that middle one is the Twilight Zone episode. Yes.
Yes. And I'm looking at it because that's a great episode. That's one of those things where they have like a community on an asteroid or a planet or something, and I think they're stranded and they've built a life, and then finally somebody comes to rescue him, and he doesn't want to leave.
Well, why would you? Look at that fantastic background. You don't need that either, man. That's great.
Mhm.
The episode is called "On Thursday We Leave for Home," so I think I was pretty close on that.
I use all this miracle growth.
First ever human space colony is about to be rescued from planet V9 Gamma,
Ah.
where they've lived for 3 decades. He has trouble accepting the big changes that are coming. So,
Can't leave my tomatoes.
That's what I was going to say.
Face tomatoes.
and then he was in Black Light Me, which I don't know if you're not from that era. That was a big deal. That was a best-selling book.
Yeah.
The guy colored his skin and his hair and tried to live as a black man. And the name of the book was Black Like Me. And I kind of want to watch this just to see what it's like from that period. And then, of course, he's one of the judges in Planet of the Apes. So, and there's taglines all over that poster for Black Like Me. I changed the color of my skin. Now I know what it feels like to be black.
Something tells me that's not the case, but okay.
Yeah, well, something tells me that too, but that
probably works about as well as White Chicks does.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Watermelon Man. Anybody remember that?
Yeah, Godfrey Cambridge.
Yeah, that's the opposite, right?
That's the opposite, right? Yeah.
Soul Man was
Soul Man.
Yeah.
Embarrassment. I mean, yeah, it's a movie. That happened.
It is a movie. All right. So James Whitmer, great actor.
Yep.
I remember him growing up. Edmund Gwenn, and I just pulled a couple things here. The top one is The Walking Dead from the 30s with
Great
Boris
movie.
Karloff. It is. Boris Karloff gets executed, and he grabs the body and brings him back.
That's you would in the 30s. Yeah.
And he has a big streak in his hair.
Have you done The Walking Dead?
We have not. Yeah. That's a good movie, though. You're right. Among the bajillions of good movies.
Yeah.
And in the middle, of course, is Miracle on 34th Street.
And then The Trouble with Harry, and does everyone know the child actor in The Trouble with Harry?
Yep.
That would be the Beeve.
Oh my God.
Jerry Mathers.
And is that John, what's his name from Charlie's Angels?
That's John Forsythe.
Yeah,
John
John Forsythe and Shirley MacLaine is next to John Forsythe.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Jerry
One of
Mathers,
her early
he's the one who
roles.
stumbles on Harry's corpse.
Yeah, I think it opens or close to opens with, is it Jerry Mathers walking through the woods?
Yeah,
dragging a dead rabbit or something.
Yeah,
like
and then he finds Harry, who's dead, and in Hitchcock's only comedy, hilarity ensues. Well, not hilarity, but things ensue.
That's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
This needs.
Well, they find this body, and so they keep thinking who killed it. They're hiding it, and then they dig it up.
Who's the guy with the hat on? Shirley.
That's Edmund Gwenn.
It's Edmund Gwenn.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The
I thought it was
rat-
Shirley Winters.
Stop it.
What?
I like that movie.
Clearly, that's Clyde Calloway.
I need to go up a notch on these glasses.
All right, next slide.
All right. So Edmund Gwenn. Then we have, like I said, Mary Ellen Hokanson.
Also very good.
She was great in this, I thought, for the little bit she was on there.
But they gave her
Boy's mother. Yeah.
that was good again. Good writing. That was a good scene that they gave her to introduce her. You know.
And then when she
I'm
hears
not
about
sure I'm not sure why Lou Diamond Phillips is standing in the background there, but
I was wondering that too. Wow.
And he is so intent. He
Right.
just never lets. He's like, and he walks around later, and he's like,
Yeah.
He's like,
it's like somebody get
What's her story?
Somebody get
Just
a
a
hot-
little
Man,
creepy.
you guys blasted me for saying Shelley Winters.
he's a little
She
creepy.
worked in the business. She's got over 100 credits.
Nice.
She
Great
was in 2 episodes of V.
Really?
Arthur. She played the secretary on Arthur.
It's entirely possible we're all currently living in an episode of V, but that's another story.
No, we're in an episode of St. Elsewhere.
Well, I prefer that.
Well, I wish somebody would shake the snow globe and
Yeah.
so I can land someplace else.
I really
But-
liked how they didn't just leave with her with the interview and letting her know about, her sons and getting information. It actually included her later on in the story.
Because when the kids get saved, or find out they don't. Well, actually, we don't see they get saved. We find out they're alive. She finds out, and there's it's a moment that we need
Yeah.
at that time
Yeah.
to kind of
Yeah.
build up to what's going to happen
Right.
at the rest of it. And
And it's also important for that moment when the guy's like, oh, are we really going to risk the lives of millions?
Yeah.
The 2 kids are probably dead. And the guy's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't you ask the mother? She's right over there.
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
that great shot where he just turns and he's just like, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like,
You wouldn't have got that in a cheaper
Yeah.
production.
Don't be an ant-hole. That's what he said.
Yeah.
don't be an animal.
Don't be an ant-hole.
Why don't
But
you
she
ask
does
her,
show
manhole?
she shows a good range there, yeah.
Yeah.
And even and her husband's dead,
Yep.
so she's still.
Mhm.
So the top picture here is Onslow Stevens plays the Brigadier General, and Sean McClory he basically made a living being able to do a decent Irish accent. Most things. He's in several episodes of Perry Mason. But he does a lot of stuff like that. Let's just put it that way.
heaven forbid you just hire an Irishman.
Well, I think he is Irish, McClory.
Okay, that's fair.
And then Onslow Stevens, the Brigadier General, 10 years before this, or 9 years before this, he is the mad scientist in House of Dracula.
That's only 9 years apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing what makeup can do. I mean, the removal of makeup can do.
According to what I read about him, is he had some trouble with alcohol and stuff, and it kind of messed with his career. But if you look at his younger days, he's got leading man looks, in the 30s. But anyway, he's working.
I thought he did a really great job when he was reading, his info on the TV. I definitely got kind of not really 1984 vibes, but I just loved that whole scene where he's talking and the camera's right on them and everybody's watching, and yeah, that was good.
By the way, we don't want to cause a panic, but we're under martial law, and the reason is giant mutated ants.
Right.
Are under the city.
Yeah, he goes a long way into the martial law and curfews and stuff, and then goes, and the reason for this.
Yeah.
Another one of the government's tricks.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt, but I'm needed elsewhere, so I'm going to need to bow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. But this has been wonderful, and I love this movie, and enjoy it. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you guys soon.
Oh,
Bye, Doc.
Thanks, Doc.
See you later, Doctor.
Okay, now that he's gone.
Well, we're almost done here.
Yes. Next slide.
And then the Sandy Desher. The little girl, which we've talked about many times. That's
So
her-
good.
Okay. And
that's
she
her,
was a child actor, and she her last role was in the 60s on Perry Mason, on an episode of Perry Mason, and then she retired, and yet she's still with us according to Wikipedia. She's 79 years old, and the only survivor of them.
What a performance!
Yeah.
So great,
Excellent.
so great.
And we have talked about this already, but the top shot there is where they find her,
Yeah.
and James Whitmore's trying to talk to her and get her to come out of it. And
Mhm.
that's not that easy to do.
Mhm.
To stare off when somebody's trying to get your attention.
She looks like she's actually in shock.
Yeah.
Really good.
And then when they have her smell the formic acid,
Yeah.
that she's that shot in the middle is her. She just goes ballistic.
Right.
The bottom two pictures are the one on the right is from a Jack Arnold movie called Space Children.
Yep.
Which Gregory says he's seen, so I believe him.
Yes.
I imagine it's on YouTube or something. I think I looked it up and it didn't show up on the usual streaming service.
As I recall, it's okay. It's been a long time, but I have.
Well, it sounds a little bit like the kids are taking over kind of thing. It sounds a little bit like Village of the Damned, a different kind of take on it.
There's a whole slew of those types of movies in the late 50s, early 60s, and I somehow have seen most of them. So.
Guess what? In The Bad and the Beautiful, Kirk Douglas and I think, is that Burt Lancaster is in that too? She plays a screaming little girl. Kirk Douglas, Lana Turner, Dick Powell, Barry Sullivan, Gloria Graham. Anyway, not Burt Lancaster. So, all right, she's excellent, and that's bottom left is an episode of Perry Mason. Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly why.
She was in Perry Mason.
No, that she left the.
I mean, let's applaud a child actor.
Yeah.
The business, and you never heard about ever again. Bravo.
Went out on a bang.
She went out. Her parents. Now, I think this is different from the Michaels we know about. Her parents owned Michaels, a chain of stores. No, a chain of stores featuring Hawaiian fashion and style. So in 1967, she left acting. She and her husband began to manage the Michaels Palm Springs location. 2013, she attended the opening of the Hollywood Museum's Loretta Young Hollywood Legend exhibit. Loretta Young was her hero.
Interesting.
So anyway, interesting character, but God, she does a great job.
Yeah, she does.
Then we go to Christian Drake, who is James Whitmore's ill-fated partner. At the beginning, there he is with his hat sufficiently
cocked to the side.
And what's Sheena's name? Something McCalla.
Irish McCalla.
Yeah. I looked under the show, and there's like 40 pictures. Every single picture is of her. There's no pictures of any other member of the cast or any other scene in the show.
Sheena.
What's that?
She is Sheena.
Yeah.
It's her show.
Yeah. Who wants to look at anybody else in there?
And
no one else is wearing a leopard print.
And why can't I find that? I hate that. Oh well. Oh, that was 1955, 56, 26 episodes.
I keep looking at that hand on Daphne's shoulder to make sure it's still
Sorry.
there.
It's not moving.
I didn't even plan it that way. It just worked out. I'll sit over here.
I'm just kidding.
Well, that was his thing. And then we have guys we've seen before.
Oh man.
The sergeant who notices the report of the pilot who
saw ants.
Went crazy. Yeah, saw the ant-shaped flying saucers. This is Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Nimoy.
What's that?
And he kind of makes a joke about it. Somebody goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, good catch. Let me get this out." He's like, "Oh, okay."
He's got a couple lines, but he's uncredited.
Also, the cop there that is shouting up from the Los Angeles, what do you call those waterways?
Overflow duct.
John Berardino, who we discussed. I believe he was the local doctor in Moon of the Wolf, which he went on to play. I think it was Dr. Hardy in one of the long-running soap operas, General Hospital. Yes. That's where I knew him from. 115 credits, 3,000 episodes of General Hospital from 1963 to 1996. Like,
that's
holy
long.
cow!
Why does 3,000 episodes of General Hospital sound like a circle of hell? I mean, it shouldn't. I'm sure he. made a
It's
great
only
movie,
because Dante didn't hear about it yet.
but there's just something about that phrase: 3,000 episodes. of
I
General
think
Hospital.
you went to work and he probably didn't have to work every day and probably made
No.
decent money.
I don't know why that has that resonance for me, but I'm just like.
He was also I didn't think we had one, but he was in an episode of Batman. He played an uncredited doctor in a Penguin episode.
There you go. Someday you'll find it. The Batman connection. The actor. The episode.
And one of my favorites.
The man for whom Dean Wormer once said, "Son, never poke a meteor with a stick." There's no way to go through life.
Did he say that?
Being-
Olin Howland.
Howland.
Yeah.
So he's the drunk in the bed who's seen the ants and is just shouting, what is it he keeps saying, Chad? Make me a sergeant and I'll give you the beer.
Yeah, put me in charge of the booze.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember exactly.
And he sing-songs it. When I read the quote, I'm like, it has him saying that twice. That doesn't make sense.
I've seen you two fellas in the movies.
It's just such an indictment of mental health services in the 1950s that they would allow this man out into the world just so he could be consumed by the blob.
Yes. Yeah. So yes,
If he stayed in the
Howland.
asylum, he never would be poking a meteor with a stick.
Olin Howland also was in the blob, and he's the one who finds the blob and he pokes it with a stick.
And that's the stick there?
Yeah,
The
that's
stick.
the blob.
And
Moving
the
up
stick.
the stick, yeah. The blob is on the stick, and he's looking suitably dumbfounded.
Huge
And
mistake.
lastly, Fess Parker plays the pilot who sees the ant-shaped flying saucers. And I knew Fess Parker growing up, like he was in all these things, these childhood favorites, Old Yeller,
Daniel Boone,
and the Walt Disney Davy Crockett. So these pictures, the Daniel Boone picture has Mingo, his Native American sidekick, who's played by Ed Ames, who I think actually had some Indian blood. I should look that up. And then Davy Crockett, his sidekick was Buddy Epps.
Jed Clampett. That was the Hillbillies crossover.
And so I don't know if I think I read it on Wikipedia. I'm not sure, but supposedly Walt Disney watched them because he was interested in James Arness.
Yes,
for Davy Crockett.
I read that too.
Instead saw Fess Parker and thought, "Oh no, that's guy." And coincidentally, John Wayne saw this and saw James Arness in it and thought, "Oh, that'd be a good guy for Gunsmoke."
Huh.
Okay.
Really?
Gunsmoke.
So here I am.
Yeah.
Correcting myself real time. Ed Ames' parents emigrated from Ukraine.
Boy, you are way off.
So maybe a little dark-skinned Eastern European style, but not Native American. Yeah, he was a good singer too. All righty. You know, all these different actors that I got on here, and I still left out William Shallert.
Yeah, William Shallert, who
He's,
has been in 10 million things, but who I always think of in the Twilight Zone movie, in the "It's a Good Life" episode.
Yes,
as one of the prisoners of the kid.
And he's in the ambulance with the little girl.
Yep.
I think.
Oh yeah, that's that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognized him.
And Willis.
Yeah.
Willis, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Boucher or Bucci or Bouchy. Was an official at the DC meeting. I couldn't find a picture of him. He plays a judge on Perry Mason about every third or fourth episode. You'd recognize him right away. And who else? Richard Deacon is a bald reporter.
Yeah.
Ann Dorn was a child psychiatrist. And she is so ever present. I believe I didn't look it up, but I think she has 300 or 400 credits. She's in like everything. She was in It, Came from Outer Space. Let's see, William Shatner. Now this says Douglas Spencer as a bit part. I didn't see him. Could be a different Douglas Spencer. Dub Taylor was the railroad yard
man.
Yeah, he wasn't the guy he was talking to before with the suit coat on, but he was a guy. Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And Dick York was supposed to be a teenager at the police station.
That would have been fun.
Samantha's husband in Bewitched, second husband.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's all those guys that I just didn't even, and there's still that's just a small part of the actual.
No, I have to correct you in real time. Yeah. Dick Sargent was Samantha's second husband in Bewitched. Dick York was her first husband.
First.
They were both dicks.
Mm-hmm.
But not assholes.
Oh.
Dick Sargent.
Well, I pictured the right guy. I just got
yeah. I understand. I just wanted you to have to do an edit.
Dick York is definitely the goofiest.
No, this is a non-edit show. We're not editing this.
I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I don't know. This is a great movie. We had tons of pictures. We've gone on forever. Yeah. We ran.
No, it's a really. I think if you've never seen them, and you are a monster kid, either literally or figuratively, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You should watch them. I will say that I watched this on Tubi. It claimed when I fired it up today that it was leaving in 3 days.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it was. I initially tried to fire it up on the Criterion. It comes up if you do a search on Criterion channel, but you can't play it. It's just mentioned as one of the collections, but for some reason it's not. Oh, really? It's not there?
It's not. I mean, it's there if it brings it up, but then it just brings up a description of it and start watching.
Yeah. Well, you can add it to a list, but you can't watch it. It's strange.
That's
which means, I think what that means is that they'll eventually have it again, but not currently.
It depends on who Warner Brothers is licensing it out to.
Yeah, this needs a better, because this is I've got the Warner Brothers Blu-ray and there's no extras on it. Well,
Warner Brothers
slideshow. There's a slideshow of behind the scenes ant stuff, but otherwise there's nothing. There's no commentary.
Like how to make an ant farm. If your ant stops eating, what do you do?
How to be an ant hole.
Well,
How to spot an ant hole.
This is such a classic. I'm guessing Warner Brothers is either not letting anybody do it, or I don't know.
They're incredibly stingy with their time.
Yeah, it's very weird, and they don't advertise it. When you buy a Warner Brothers Blu-ray, unless you can actually read the back of the package. You won't know for sure if you're getting any extras because they don't really advertise it usually.
You know what the extra is? The extra is knowing you've watched one of the great monster movies.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's your extra, man.
But we're talking Jeff here.
Yeah, I know.
Jeff has to know about bowel movements. What time was lunch? On the set.
Yeah, really.
We need to
how did they clean up after those giant ants?
Yeah.
Ant poop is the hardest.
All right. I think that's it for them. We love this movie. You guys should love it too. People write in, tell us who we missed, what we goofed up. If somebody knows who the guys are that actually built the ants, that'd be great. I'm sure it's out there on some of the there's a bunch of Facebook groups and other chat groups for special effects people. I'm sure somebody there knows who did it. I didn't think to go ask them. So,
is it time for the best part of the show?
It's time for feedback. So, as somebody describes it, who has a piece of feedback in the episode. Okay, time for feedback. All right, Chad. This is the winner of our shortest comments on the most episodes.
Berliner
109, Horror of Dracula.
Berliner 0. You need to let us know how to pronounce that so we say your name correctly. Berliner or Berliner. And they say, brilliant movie, loved it.
And that's
Ding, ding, ding,
typical.
ding.
That's typical. Okay. Then on episode 192, Kiss Me Deadly. How do I do this? I've got to orchestrate this correctly. We'll go Jose. That was a short one, Chad. You want to read this, Jose, for Kiss Me Deadly?
Sure. It's not like I don't already do everything around here.
I knew you'd be okay with it.
Okay. Jose says, I saw this only once back in the 90s on TNT, I think. It was pretty striking and strange scenes stuck in my mind. His reel-to-reel tape answering machine, for one. Cloris Leachman running in the raincoat and then having something unseen and horrible happening to her, if my memory is correct. Yes, you are correct. That was a great scene. And the final shot of the house's demise when the all-important box is opened. I do have a DVD, but this one would seem to be one that I should pick up on the Blu-ray now available.
Yes.
Dr. Cyclops is a marvel of its time, but it was a 3-strip Technicolor.
And I
Okay.
think we've talked about that. For some reason, the Dr. Cyclops came up. I'd have to look it up to see why. But
Somebody
all right.
somebody asked if we'd seen it or done it yet, I think.
Episode 193, Earth versus the Spider, also from Jose. Daphne?
Okay, from Jose. Mr. Big sure made some crummy films, but at least they are entertaining. Mostly King Dinosaur accepted. Maybe. Anyhow, I was lucky enough to see this theatrically in the early 90s. There was a place called Fluker Farms that raised crickets,
Careful how you say that.
mealworms, and similar creepy things for fishing, feed, and insect chocolates. They sponsored a whole day of horror films based around insects as a publicity stunt. They showed Mysterious Island from 1961, Invasion of the Bee Girls, the 1958 version of The Fly, and this one. It's fun in spite of the usual big cheapiness on the screen. The recent Blu-ray looks very nice, and that spider web sure looks like a heavy-duty rope net. And yes, I did eat a chocolate-covered cricket on a dare from my friends. It was good. Had the same texture as a Nestle Rice Krispie chocolate bar.
Cool. I've had chocolate-covered ants before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But were they chocolate-covered giant mutated ants?
It'd take a lot of chocolate to cover
Yeah.
one of those ants, and it'd take me a few days to eat it.
The entomology club at the Iowa State would sell chocolate-covered goodies.
Homer, are you still eating that ant?
Okay, and last but certainly not least,
What?
on episode 193, Earth versus the Spider, one from a guy named Gregory Crosby.
I suppose you want me to read this, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
God, this ant-hole again. Gregory Crosby writes, I've only ever seen the MST3K version of this, and I'm not sure seeing it without the riffs is in my future, but a highly enjoyable episode nonetheless. I would like to nominate Gene Roth, in addition to Alan Hale, as a full member of the useless, mocking, and condescending Sheriffs in Horror Movies Club, as he plays essentially the exact same aggressively unpleasant character in Attack of the Giant Leeches, 1959. What is it about giant, mutated animals that brings out the worst in local law enforcement? With the exception, of course, of them. And I'm very excited the crew will soon be covering the only true classic of the giant insect subgenre. And then somehow I'm here. It's like a dream come true.
And I did not read this until afterwards, after we asked Gregory. I didn't think Doc was going to be able to make it, so we wanted to make sure we had a
No
quorum,
worries,
so
but
to
it's
speak,
true.
so.
Gene Roth, in both that and Attack of the Giant Leeches, unbelievable. Like it's like he should be the poster child for all cops are bastards. It's like especially Attack of the Giant Leeches, he's just like the worst. It's amazing. Anyway.
After Greg said Attack of the Giant Leeches, did one of you guys whisper 1959?
No, I said 1959.
You did? Okay. So it was so low, it sounded like somebody else said it. So.
No, well, I was just, that's the, you can always tell it's the nerd making the comment if he puts in the year of the film next to the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the joint was haunted.
No, I was trying to mitigate my the nerd factor there and my comment. But why? I mean, clearly, why bother?
Well, thank you, Gregory, for that comment.
Well, we're 2 hours into it. Who cares?
Yes, thank you.
Also, Jose and Berliner.
Thank you for allowing me to read it as opposed to Chad in his poet voice.
Which sounds nothing like Gregory. I have.
See, I always just assume nobody's listening to us. So when we make comments about you,
Sure. Yeah, no one is. Except me.
There's plenty of ways to stay in touch. So please send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com or leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel. Again, you can catch us on the Classic Sci-Fi Movie channel, Classic Horror Movie channel, the Wicked Horror TV channel, also on Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, and wherever podcasts are heard, because we audiolize the video.
Except for Bill's podcast. We don't like that guy.
Bill's podcast. I have no
Bill
idea what you're
podcast shows. Yeah, it's some guy. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. So yeah, we love comments. So please leave them. As you can
Bill
see.
Mulligan's Frozen podcast.
Bill Mulligan's Feline Hour.
Coming up tomorrow night.
What's next, Jeff?
Well, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up, this will sound kind of weird because we're doing 2 in a row by Chad.
We are?
Yes, because Doc wasn't ready and I didn't find out till like 45 minutes before the show. And you were the only one
we're
to
doing Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster.
Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster next.
1959.
Wow. Well, now I feel. I thank you. Thank you for that, Daphne.
Chad said it louder.
Actually, again, speaking of Bill Mulligan, that's the movie that is secretly directed by
Mario Bava.
Thank you.
Let's start.
I knew it, but I wanted to see if you guys knew it.
Great.
All right. So that's what we'll be doing for our next episode. And I didn't realize it was when I picked that. I just looked at the list, and Chad was the only one who had picked ahead.
Oh, Chad.
And so I didn't have to ask anybody to come
Better
up
than
with
picking
one
my
at the last
nose.
minute. So Chad gets
No,
the
that's
bonus double episode.
I've been on here way too long tonight. I'm starting to just tell dumb dad jokes. Well, I always do that, I guess.
Thanks to everybody for staying with us, whether you did or not.
Is that your way to get me to shut up?
Say goodnight, everybody. And thanks,
Good night,
Greg.
assholes.
Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, you bunch of ant holes.
Don't be an ant hole.
Don't.